today we have invited Chris from the University of Sheffield to co-run this live stream and to give us some update about 2020 entry requirement. Hello Chris, shall we say hi to everyone?
Hi everybody, as Lucy said, my name is Chris. I'm Regional Recruitment Manager at the University of Sheffield. I actually graduated from Sheffield as well, and I've been focusing on the China market for about 3 years now.
Oh, so you have been living and working in Sheffield?
Yeah, so it's not been uninterrupted. So when I originally graduated from Sheffield around 2007, I actually left the UK for a while, worked in several other countries including China, and then I moved back to Sheffield to work there too.
Oh, cool. So how did you find about living in Sheffield?
I've always loved it. Obviously life is very different from when you're a student to when you're working, but a lot of the things I loved most when I was a student, I still love working in Sheffield. So, for myself, I actually moved up from London, so I'm London born and bred, but Sheffield's become a second home, and just had a young child, so he's going to grow up as a Sheffield native.
Wow, congratulations!
Thank you.
So how did you find about being a dad?
That is a tough one. That is a tough one, but life is good.
Okay, cool. So how did you find, as you mentioned, you were a student at the University of Sheffield. So how did you find about being a student there?
I absolutely loved it, actually. I remember when I chose Sheffield, obviously I was looking at the academic reasons, but I had some other personal reasons. So, for example, I wanted to be close to the football team that I support. But when I actually got to Sheffield, I really enjoyed both the academic and the social side. The classes I found challenging but very rewarding, and really enjoyed the learning environment and the quality of students around me and the quality of teaching. But then socially, I found it a very down-to-earth place, a place where I could have fun, a place where I could relax, and that was the perfect environment for me to study and be successful, really.
Did you join any clubs here? Because I know that University of Sheffield has so many clubs, and it was rewarded as the best student union.
That's right. So we've actually been the #1 student union for about 11 years in a row now. When I joined in year one, I did, because I did my undergraduate there, I did partake in a number of activities. For my second year, I actually studied abroad in the US. So Sheffield has a lot of courses which give you that option to study overseas. And in the third year, I was involved in some clubs, mainly football related, but a lot of my time was spent studying in the third year.
Sounds very exciting. Do you miss your student life?
Aspects of it. When you wake up early morning for the baby, you start missing your student life.
Okay, cool. So before we start our Q&A session, Chris, would you mind giving us a bit introduction to the University of Sheffield? I'm sure that lots of students already be familiar with the university, but could you give us more information today?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So Sheffield was founded in 1905. As many of you will know, we're a Russell Group university, and we have 6 Nobel Prize winners associated with the university as well. Currently in the QS rankings, we're ranked 78th in the world and 13th in the UK. And we're also in the top 50 most international universities in the world, according to Times Higher Education. Additionally, we're also, according to Times Higher Education, we're also in the top 50 in Europe for teaching. But something I always try to add is that Sheffield's qualities go far beyond just academic success. So, for example, we're #1 in the north of England for graduate prospects and employability. We mentioned about our student union being ranked consistently #1. We're second in the Russell Group for student satisfaction. And when we look at safety and affordability, Sheffield ranks highly in these areas too. So why I often recommend Sheffield is I think it's a very balanced university. We're very successful in the classroom, but we also provide a lot outside of the classroom too.
Yes, I think students' satisfaction is also very important, because when they choose a university, it's not just about the academic side, it's also about how they feel about here, how they feel if this is a city they can think as a home, and if they can find friends here, if they enjoy the life here. So it's all linked together.
Yeah, definitely. As I said in my introduction, one of the reasons I think I was successful was because I was happy with my life, and I think being happy with your life and having plenty to do can help your studies.
Yes, and I remember there are so many yummy Chinese restaurants in Sheffield.
There is. I need the students to remind me which are the best ones. So often when I see the students, the first question is, how's your life in Sheffield? The next question is, are there any restaurants I'm unaware of?
Okay, thank you for sharing, Chris.
You're welcome.
So now let's move on to the Q&A session. I know that the University of Sheffield is a very top, highly ranked university in the world. Could you give us some introduction about your schools? I know you have lots of faculties and schools. Would you like to list some popular courses under each faculty or schools?
Yeah, absolutely. So Sheffield has 5 faculties. In terms of Chinese student recruitment, the most popular ones tend to be social sciences and engineering, or maybe arts and humanities. And a lot of the most popular courses for Chinese students come from those 3 areas. So for social science, we'll have our management school courses such as accounting and finance, human resource management, business management, these type of courses. We also have ones like architecture, the School of English, the School of Education, economics and law, all within our social science faculty. For engineering, the most popular one tends to be electronic engineering. And there's also some really exciting courses in our arts and humanities, including ones like Intercultural Communications, which we may speak about later.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Based on last year's applications, what subjects did you receive the largest numbers of applications from China?
That's a good question. It probably won't surprise you to hear that it's accounting and finance is the most popular one. So the management school always tends to be the most popular one. But there are a lot of individual courses that are also very popular. Digital media and society, journalism is also very popular. And then in other departments, we also have ones like electronic engineering too.
And also like courses, advanced computer science.
Yes.
It's very popular as well, I think.
Absolutely, yes. So advanced computer science is very well ranked and therefore tends to be very popular too. So yeah, there's many courses across the faculties which are popular.
Thank you, Chris. And I know the University of Sheffield is using ARWU ranking list, which is also updated every year. Could you give us some general entry requirement update for how you look at, how you filter applications from Chinese applicants?
Absolutely, yes. So as Lucy said, we do use the ARWU list, otherwise known as the Shanghai rankings. So our general entry requirements tend to be as follows. If the university is 211, 985 or top 100 ranked, we would ask for 75% as a minimum. If the university is ranked from 101 to 300, we usually ask for 80% as a minimum. And if it's outside the top 300, we do this on a case-by-case basis. So it means that it's not guaranteed to make an offer for it, and it can depend on the course and on the department, but the minimum will be 85%.
Yes, thank you, Chris. So for students who are watching this now, if you are not sure if your university is ranked and at which level, please check with your counselors from UKEC. I'm sure they will be able to guide you further.
Absolutely.
So do you have any other specific requirements for some courses? Because like you mentioned earlier, management school is so popular. So are they more strict for the criteria?
Yes, they are. So the management school, for example, will only accept 211, 985 and top 100 applicants.
So this doesn't apply to the one you just mentioned earlier. Even, for example, you mentioned 85% for top 300, but for management school, you only accept 985, 211 plus top 100.
That's correct. So they're very, very strict on that one. So yeah, for other courses, there are some ones worth remembering, like journalism will only accept from the top 300. Education only accepts from the top 300. We'll talk a bit more about these later. But yeah, for the management school, top 100, 985 and 211 only on there.
Thank you for your clarification. So as you mentioned, management school is the most popular one. So shall we start with the management school then?
Absolutely.
Could you give us more information about your entry requirement, including IELTS and academic performance?
Absolutely. So usually we'll be asking for a minimum of a 2-1. for applying for the management school. But as we said, because for China that would be 211, 985 and top 100 universities, that's going to be a minimum of 75%. The IELTS requirement is an IELTS 6.5 with no component below 6.0. And something we'll talk a bit more about later is that it's important to realise that management school is also in what we call staged admissions.
Thank you, Chris. Can you give us some course options for management school? What popular courses do you have, or which ones do you recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just look for a few of them here. So we have, of course, the accountant and finance, but we also have MSc in management, international management, creative and cultural industries management, international management and marketing, logistics and supply chain, marketing management practice, global marketing management, which is a really nice course where you spend half of your time in the UK, half of your time in Hong Kong, accounting, governance and financial management, human resource management, management, information systems management, and they're the main ones for our postgraduate offerings.
Thank you, Chris. And we also have students who have done 3+1 or 2+2, which means 3 years in China and 1 year study in the UK. For those students, I think you also have a special requirement for them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So for 2+2s and 3+1 students, we're going to look at a few different areas. So when you're applying, firstly, we're going to look at your UK degree. Did you receive the 2-1 minimum or equivalent? The next thing we're going to do is to look at your Chinese score as well. Does that meet our minimum requirements? And then the third thing we also do is to look at the ranking of the Chinese university. So even though it's a 2+2 or a 3+1, the management school will still look at that ranking. Although it's important to realise that is more for the management school and doesn't apply for every department.
Yeah, because management school is the most competitive one, I would say.
Yes, it's certainly the most popular and most competitive.
So how can students stand out from so many applications? How can they become a strong competitor? Chris, would you give us some advice, especially for students who are watching the live today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first thing is obviously academic results. So that's going to be one of the first things the university looks at, because we're always wanting the highest quality students possible, as is all universities. In terms of how you can set yourself apart, it's also good to think about the personal statement and about presenting yourself to show yourself as strong as possible in that statement.
Yeah, thank you very much. Speaking of the statement, PS statement, do you have any tips, or what do you think of how to have a good statement?
Yeah, I think a good personal statement needs to do a number of things. The first thing it needs to do is answer the question of why you would like to apply for that course. So it's important that the university sees that you understand the course and know why you're applying. The second thing would be, why are you suitable? So again, what is it about your background or your ambitions or your skills that make you suitable for studying this course? And a final thing could be, how is it going to help with your future ambitions? So how would a degree in this subject help you with your career aims? You may also want to think in a postgraduate application about why Sheffield. I know in undergraduate you're sending the same personal statement to multiple universities, so you can't specify on Sheffield, but maybe in the postgraduate one it can be good to show an awareness of what Sheffield offers and why you would like to come to Sheffield.
Yeah, do some research.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you for sharing, it's very valuable.
Thank you.
Now let's move on to the next school. Let's talk about your Department of Journalism Studies, shall we?
Absolutely.
So could you give us some summary about your entry requirement as well as your popular courses under this department?
Yes, so journalism has also been a very popular one traditionally from China, mainly due to our excellent rankings. So our journalism is consistently ranked near the top across all rankings really, and I think it's a top 4 journalism school in the world according to QS rankings. So very, very popular. The other benefit of our journalism, and something which I say a lot about Sheffield, is it doesn't just have the prestige of the rankings, it's actually producing very, very good graduates who are going on to get great jobs. So we have a number of famous alumni in the UK, one of which is a sports journalist called Dan Walker. The journalism ticks a lot of boxes, very, very high ranking, very good student outcomes, very good jobs.
Thank you. So what about MA Intercultural Communication? Does this one have a higher requirement for IELTS?
Yes, so our Intercultural Communications comes under our Arts and Humanities faculty.
Okay.
One of the reasons why a lot of Chinese students like it is because as part of this intercultural side, you need to have an understanding of two cultures and of course two languages. So that can come quite a bit more naturally to Chinese students, especially those who are already studying abroad. But the IELTS requirement will be an IELTS 7 overall.
Yes, so this is a course that is very suitable for students who have done 3+1 or 2+2, who understand the two different cultures.
I think so, for sure. You know, it's a real asset. We have other courses like translation, where if you've got a higher IELTS, it makes you very suitable. But I think ones like intercultural communications are really suitable for students already in the UK, because you have to have an understanding of two cultures and two languages to kind of be here for that amount of time.
Thank you, Chris. Oh, I think we have already got some questions. So one of the questions is about a subject called broadcast journalism. The students asking, when the faculty or admissions team assess the application, what are they looking for? How can they basically be more likely to be accepted?
Oh, that's a great question. So I think firstly they're going to look at the basic admissions requirements. So do you meet the entry requirements in terms of your score and the university ranking? So journalism usually accepts from the top 300 for reference. What they're then going to look at is what we were talking about, the personal statement. Why have you applied for broadcast journalism? Why are you suitable for it? And how will this degree help you? Because that's going to show them your enthusiasm, it's going to show them your knowledge of the course, and that will help make you a more outstanding candidate.
Thank you. To summarize, firstly, you have to be in one of the top 300 universities, right? So if you are not sure whether your university is on this list, please check with your UKEC counselor. And before we move on to the next part, I think we have a question from management school.
Yeah,
one
sure.
of the course, international business management.
Yes.
They are asking the specific entry requirement. Could you give us some more information?
Yes, so that will go similar to what we said earlier, that with all of the management school courses, they're only accepting from universities either 211, 985 or top 100. It would be a minimum of 75%. And again, we'll focus on it later because this will be in staged admissions on there. But these are the basic entry requirements for it. But the same statement we made about the personal statement still applies. So it's going to be very, very competitive. Lots of very high quality applicants, especially from China for these courses. So you're going to have to work hard to show your quality and show what makes you kind of special for these courses.
Thank you, Chris. So now let's move on to the next part about STEM. Would you like to give us some more insights about any subjects you want to tell students or share?
Yeah, so I think that there's a few that, again, if we talk about the most popular one would be advanced computer science. So Sheffield has an excellent reputation for computer science and also artificial intelligence. We've had a lot of good research in these areas, so it's very, very popular due to its ranking, its research and the facilities. In addition to that, we also have our kind of maths-based subjects, which they're very popular again because in addition to teaching you the theoretical side, it's often a lot more practical than people realise as well. So you're applying these maths and what you learn to real life problems, which then makes you more employable when you graduate.
Do they need a very strong mathematics skills for some of the subjects understand?
Yes, so say for example our computer science still requires mathematics, and depending on which ones, a lot of the time if it's more of the engineering ones it will go into mathematics and physics, but for computer science it would just be mathematics.
So what is the entry requirement for that subject particularly, Chris?
So again, we'll be going back to our general requirements about if the university is ranked in the top 100, 211 or 985, it'd be 75%. If the university is ranked from 101 to 300, it would be 80%. And then usually a course like advanced computer science wouldn't accept outside the top 300, but if they were considering it, it would have to be a minimum of 85%.
Okay, thank you, Chris. I know the University of Sheffield and the Sheffield, this city has lots of industrial links with lots of big companies. So I'm sure this also provides a very good foundation for students who want to do engineering related courses.
Absolutely. So Sheffield is actually #1 in the UK for engineering research income. We have many massive companies based on Sheffield's facilities, including Boeing, Airbus, Rolls-Royce. So yeah, in terms of employability, research, and feeding that back into the teaching and the facilities, Sheffield's an excellent place for studying.
Thank you. And also I know for architecture is also very popular, right? Would you give us some introduction about this area?
Absolutely, yes. So architecture is one that Sheffield is famous for, and we've ranked very highly in this across rankings for a number of years. There are so many things about our architecture that make Sheffield a great place to study. The facilities that you have, the career prospects. I was talking to an academic recently, and he was saying that a lot of the time employers will just come directly to our architecture department to advertise jobs.
Wow.
You know, knowing the quality of the students, and we set up an employer fair to try and get our students there. We have them interacting with consultants during their time there. So in terms of employability and prestige, Sheffield is a great one for architecture.
That's a very good position to be in, to
Yeah.
get so close to different employers.
Yeah, it's, as I say, the course is just very famous, and that is why it's so popular and produces so many great graduates.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Let's talk about education as well, shall we? Because I know, like, for example, I'm originally, I did my master degree at MA Education as well. So I know this is a very popular area for Chinese students, including TESOL or translation or any related subjects. Could you give us some more information about your entry requirement for this specific school?
Yes, so education usually, so as of this year, education accepts from the top 300 only. So again, we would go back to our standard entry requirements, 75%, 211, 985, top 100, and then for universities ranked 101 to 300, it'd be 80%. So the ones that tend to be most popular are MA Education, and we also have childhood education. And then within the university, we also have TESOL and applied linguistics as well, which has been a historically popular one.
So for your TESOL course, when students apply, do they need to have any classroom-based teaching experience?
Yes, they do. So at the moment, we have one TESOL course, TESOL and applied linguistics, which does require experience. It may be that we extend that offering out, because I know that, you know, in China many struggle to get that experience, but currently, yes, it does require experience.
Thank you. What about IELTS? Do they require higher IELTS?
So typically no, so it'd be IELTS 6.5 with no area less than 6.
Okay, thank you. For any other schools or courses you would like to mention here for our students?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are some ones that are really, really popular. So our information school is actually ranked #2 in the world. That's one that has courses like data science and information management. That's always been a very, very popular one. We also have a course in our sociology department called Digital Media and Society that's been very popular. But I think there is a number of courses that are very, very good. We have, for example, an MSc in real estate. We have subjects like international development. So there are many, many subjects. I think we often have more subjects than people are aware of.
Yeah.
So it's very worth researching or speaking to your counsellors at UKEC to find out what courses there are and seeing if they're the ones most suitable for you.
Thank you, Chris. And also, I think it's worth mentioning for the subject you just mentioned about data science, that course also only accepts 211, 985, and also top 100.
That's correct, yes.
Yes. So, before we move on to the next section about applications, I think we have got more questions about entry requirements.
Sure.
One of the questions is about MSc Business Finance and Economics. What are they looking for when they assess applications?
Okay, so this is a good question because our economics department is actually separate from our management school. So a lot of the time you find that economics and business are together in schools, but within Sheffield they're actually separate. So our economics school is very economics focused. So when we're applying for these type of courses, we're looking for a strong mathematics background as well. So we'll often look at whether the student has macroeconomics, microeconomics, finance and mathematics. So it's not just having a general economics background.
Some quantitative courses.
Exactly, because of the focus on economics. As I say, it is separate from the business one. So accounting and finance may require a more general background, whereas when it comes to the economics ones, they really need that strong quantitative background and also specific modules.
Yes. So if you are not sure whether you meet the entry requirement or you meet all those conditions, please check with your counselor or also go through the website of the University of Sheffield, because every module, every course, I think they will have their specifications as well. Yes. Another question is about media. So one of our students has already got 7 years work experience in media industry.
Yeah.
Would you consider about this as one of the factors giving them offer instead of only considering about their academic results?
Yes, so it can definitely be considered in there. I think we would need to know what the results were and also what the experience is. So of course, when we're coming about explaining why you want to study this course and where it's going to help you in your future, if you've been working in industry for years, it's very easy to demonstrate. So I think like a lot of our departments will consider this strongly, but we would need to still know how far away you would be from the academic requirements and also the ranking of the university. That would help us better answer whether that could be made an exception for.
Thank you, Chris. So this kind of thing would be decided based on like a case by case then?
Definitely. So yeah, because especially if you've missed the original entry requirements,
yeah,
it's quite a unique case. So you're then going to have to write a very strong personal statement, yeah, or a very strong case to explain why your time in the industry makes up for what was missed out in the entry requirements.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
So now let's move on to the next part about application, yeah, because I know now it's a very kind of like a beginning of the new recruitment cycle.
Yes.
And I know that some universities have already opened their applications for 2020 September intake. What about the University of Sheffield? Have you already opened it?
Yes, we have. Yeah, so as soon as 1 year finishes, another one begins. So we're welcoming applications now. So yeah, open for applications.
Busy all year round.
Always.
So you just mentioned earlier that about a staged based in application or admissions, yeah, process. So what is the turnaround time?
Excellent question. So I think it's probably good to start with what staged admissions is as, yeah, well, and why it's implicated. So staged admissions basically means there are several windows in the year to apply for certain courses such as management. The reason why they do this is they want to obviously keep the courses open as long as they can for applications, and also to ensure that we get the most suitable and the best quality students. So this year we're introducing staged admissions for a number of courses. Currently for management school the window is open already, and it opened on the 1st of September, and this stage will end on the 14th of October before the next stage begins.
Okay, thank you. So we have a few stages, right?
Yes.
And I know that for this, basically during the in stage, you don't issue offers.
Yeah, sorry, that's a very good point. So you were asking about how long a student would wait for their offer, and the answer kind of depends on when they applied. So if I use an example from our stage here, the first stage we have opened on the 1st of September, and it closes on the 14th of October. So we're going to get decisions to applicants by the 28th of October. So that means that during the cycle between the 1st of September and the 14th of October, no offers are being made. So we're waiting for the window to close, and then we assess all of the applications and make the offer. So that might mean waiting a little bit longer, especially if you applied on the 1st of September.
Thank you, Chris. And also don't forget there is a deadline for paying deposit as well.
Yeah, that's very important to remember. Particularly the management school, but a lot of the other departments are very, very strict on the deposit deadlines. So it's important to make sure that you're keeping an eye on when the stages open and when they close, and also the deposit deadlines if you want to keep your offer.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
So some students might want to know whether the subject that they are applying is based on this stage based or not. So could you give us the list of schools which are using this stage based? Because I know some of them are not using this.
Yes, so it only really applies to a few departments, the staged admissions process. So the first one is all of the management school postgraduate courses. So we went through them earlier, like accounting and finance, international business, human resource management. All of those management school PGT courses are under staged admissions. Additionally, all of our computer science postgraduate courses are also under staged admissions. That would include advanced computer science, cybersecurity and artificial intelligence, and all the ones that sit within that department. Additionally, in our information school, we have information management, information systems, and data science. All of these will be under staged admissions. And finally, within sociology, our digital media and society course will also be operating staged admissions this year.
Thank you, Chris. So for those ones which are not stage based, what is the turnaround time? For example, if a student submitted the application now, how long would they need to wait until they receive a response or receive a conditional offer, for example?
Good question. So typically our guidance time is about 2 weeks for waiting on that offer. It can depend on the department, but the guidance time is 2 weeks.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Go back to the entry requirement again.
Yeah.
I think we got more questions.
That's fine, that's fine.
So one of the students is asking about your chemistry school.
Yes.
So they were asking if they don't have any scores or transcript for physics, this subject, can they still apply for chemistry?
Yes, so chemistry would require, it focuses on chemistry. So is this a postgraduate or an undergraduate student?
I assume it's for postgraduate.
So usually what they'll do is they'll require more of a focus on the chemistry. They may also require like maths depending on what one it is. But if it's a postgraduate student, I think the background in chemistry is more important.
Thank you. Just in case the student is asking about undergraduate, so what is the entry requirement for undergraduate?
It's similar really. I think generally at undergraduate we're looking for more of a general background in science as opposed to postgraduate. If it's a chemistry course, we're going to want them to have specialised in chemistry.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Another question is about your EEE course.
Yeah.
Electronic and Electrical Engineering. What's the entry requirement for that one?
This one is a bit more flexible than some of the others we've named.
That's good to know.
Yes, absolutely. So again, it's an excellent course, excellent ranked, excellent student outcomes. So a very, very popular course. But within engineering, there's usually a bit more flexibility. So there will be examples of where they make offers to outside the top 300. Again, it depends on the student's background there. I think for certain types of engineering, they're looking at more of the specialist backgrounds. So yeah, there's more flexibility there. So it would be the same standard requirements. Top 100, 211, 985 is 75%. 101 to 300, 80%. And then outside of that, 85% on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you, Chris. I think we have another question about offer.
Sure.
So they want to know when's the earliest time they can receive the offer. I think we just covered this, just in case they didn't hear this clearly.
Yes.
So for those stage-based, let's look at this table.
Yeah.
When's the earliest time they can receive an offer?
That would be the 28th of October. So if we're looking at this initial stage, we said it opened on the 1st of September, it will close on the 14th of October, and then we aim to have all decisions to applicants by the 28th of October. But remember, that's just the first stage. So as soon as that stage ends, we'll then go into another stage of there. So in total, there are 6 or 7 stages over the course of the year. So plenty of time to apply.
Thank you very much. Another question is about work experience. I think they were talking about general application, I assume. Basically, when they have work experience, do they need to show any internship certificate or any reference from the work employer?
It depends on the course really, and it depends on whether that's relevant to your application. So, of course, work experience is always valued. There might be some courses, like we were saying about the TESOL course, where it's needed to have some experience. But I think for, let's say, finance and accounting, I don't think you necessarily need a background to meet the entry requirements, but it could help strengthen your application and your personal statement.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Now let's move on to the next part about employability, because like you mentioned earlier, there were so many opportunities every year in the University of Sheffield, and also you have lots of links with different companies. They come around and do some lecture or talk and get to know students better. So could you tell us what kind of service or support that your career service provides for our students?
Good question. So our career service has an excellent reputation. So usually it has a walk-in centre where students will go and speak to the careers counsellors, and they can give you guidance on several things. It can be some of the initial things like the CV, or helping to write your cover letter, or helping you to get familiar with the application process, particularly if you're looking to stay in the UK. And then as you progress, there's also help available with preparing for interviews, in finding the right companies as well. If I could give one piece of advice to international students, this is assuming that the students are looking to stay in the UK. If you're looking to stay in the UK, I strongly advise that you go to see the career centre quite early. I know that can be quite scary because you're new in a new country, you're just settling in a new university. But what you often find is that the best graduate schemes in the UK take applications quite early. So I see a lot of Chinese students being very, very successful on these ones. And recently I was speaking to a graduate who successfully got onto the IBM management scheme. And when I asked him, what advice would you give? The number one advice was to start early and to not apply for too few companies. So to keep your options open and then work on them early, because what you might find is you might find your first interview, you're quite nervous and don't perform as well as you can, but maybe on the third interview or the fourth interview, you're much better. So just work on this early if your aim is to stay there, because there's a good chance that you can be successful.
Thank you very much, because I know that most companies, especially bigger ones, they normally open their graduate schemes quite early, like in the beginning of September. And they do have like a cooling system. Basically, if you apply and didn't pass the first round interview, you will have to wait for another 6 months to apply for the next time.
Yeah.
Yes. So also to have that in mind, that quality is more important than quantity. Do more research about the company you are applying for, instead of just rushing to numbers.
Very good point. Yeah, excellent point.
Yes, thank you. So can you tell us more about what your Chinese graduates have been to after they graduated? Do you have any data to share with our students? Because I know that for students, nowadays it's not just about the course. They also want to pay attention to where they want to go in the future, or what their other previous year students who are doing the same subject have been. So even just in China or anywhere, could you give us some examples?
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't have like what we would call reliable data on exactly the percentages with China, but through our engagement with our Chinese alumni, we can see the success they're having. So for example, recently I was doing a project with our economics department where we were looking at where their graduates were going on to, and it was really encouraging to see some of them were going to big international Western banks such as HSBC or Santander, but there was a lot also working in banking positions in China, in China Construction Bank or Bank of China, or several kind of big regional and national banks there. And similar for journalism really. So a lot of the time when we look at the data in the UK, we're obsessed by looking for European companies and try and see ones there. And we were seeing them, we were seeing Bloomberg, we were seeing The Guardian, we were seeing European and national UK newspapers. But then actually when we focus on the China side, we were seeing equally impressive employers such as Tencent and Weibo.
Harvey.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a great example actually that one of the Sheffield graduates is the director of Weibo's business school.
Oh.
So yeah, again, we're very proud of the success of all of our alumni and graduates.
That's really good to hear.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. So before we move on, I think we have more questions about entry requirements. This is always the big part to focus on. So for IELTS, we have students who have already done some study in the UK.
Yes.
When they apply for a master degree, do they still need to provide their IELTS transcript if they have studied in the UK already?
They wouldn't need to provide IELTS if they studied for more than 1 year in the UK. So yeah, they can accept that in lieu of IELTS.
Okay, thank you very much. What about for second master? Because especially after PSW policy just released and they might be back next year. So some students are probably already thinking about doing another master. So do you accept a second master?
We would do. I think we have to separate the university and the kind of UK visa and immigration regulations. So from the university's point of view, we would welcome applications. One of the things from a UK VI perspective is that you have to show academic progression. So you have to show that second master's is a step forward for you basically, and it's helping you get to what your ultimate objective and what you want to do. So as long as UK VI are satisfied, the university would certainly welcome those applicants.
Thank you very much,
You're
Chris.
welcome.
So I think we need to bear in mind when you submit an application, before you submit, check if you have met the entry requirement, and to make sure you know this course and this is what you want to study in the coming year. And also talk with your counselors to make sure everything is ready to go. So before the end of today's session, Chris, do you have anything you want to share with our UKC students?
I think you've summed it up perfectly there, that one of the best things to do is to kind of do your research and have a think about which courses and which university is most suitable. Obviously I'm hoping that that's going to be Sheffield. We've been so fortunate with the number and the quality of Chinese students that we have, and they're a vital part of the university. So we look forward to welcoming you to Sheffield. But I would encourage you to work with your counsellors, speak with UKEC to help get that guidance on not only what courses you would like most, but also about how you may go about applying about that too. So yeah, they would be my main advice.
Thank you very much. I think there's another question from our students. They were talking about the good degree. Obviously on your website, some places might mention good degree. Is that equivalent to 2-1 or 2-2 or more specific, especially for students who are studying currently in Russia? Good
question. I think, yeah, it's quite a vague term that to use the one good degree. I think when they say good degree, they're usually referring more to the institution than necessarily the grade. So it's probably stating that the university you're at needs to be recognised. That's not normally a big problem for China, by the way, because all of the universities are recognised.
Yeah.
If we're talking about generally for Sheffield, I would say a good degree could either be a 2-1 or a 2-2, so that I can't answer that accurately, but I think a 2-2 would still count as a good degree.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you very much for everyone watching today. Thank you so much for Chris to come here to do this with us. It's our pleasure. Yes. So this is the end of today's live stream. Chris, anything you want to say before you say goodbye?
Yeah, just want to say thank you very much for the time today, and also for your interest in Sheffield. As I say, we're so delighted by the quality of students, and we really hope to be welcoming you to Sheffield in the next year or so. So thank you very much, and hope to see you in person soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
So you